Children, now we have learned about the basic features of Indian and the US government. Then coming to the main part of the chapter, which is coming to my mind, is the basic difference between them. Let's see the last video of this chapter to conclude the topic. Hope it will be helpful to you. Thank you.
Let's conclude this chapter by understanding the difference of Indian and the US form of government. So, here we go. United States and India both are considered as the largest democratic countries in the world, are based on federalism in their political structure. The US gained the status of Federal Republic state in the year 1789, whereas India occupied the status of socialist, sovereign, secular, and the democratic republic by enacting its constitution in the year 1950. Thereby, both countries had attained dominion status in which several smaller states got associated with a strong central government, which is known as federal government in the US and the central government in India. Thus, both states become federal republics. During the framing of the Constitution, the drafting committee headed by Dr. Ambedkar borrowed many features from Constitution of other countries, including US, which was adopted in the Indian context. Hence, both US and India, even though federal in character, have certain similarities as well as differences between them. So, in US, we call as a presidential form of government, and in India, we have a parliamentary forms of government. Presidential and parliamentary forms of government are two different systems of government which are available in all countries of the world. These two systems are for good governance, and these two are efficient in their tasks. In this PPT, we will explain these two systems of governments in brief. So, there are certain differences that exist between the federalism of US and India. These differences have been created by the architects of Indian Constitution. The US federalism is very strong and more rigid, as envisaged in their constitution by its leaders. It is more federal than unitary in character, whereas India is more unitary than federal. We can say it is a quasi-federal. First, here is the slide, the comparison of parliamentary and presidential form of government. The Constitution of US is very precise and rigid, running into a few pages, whereas the Constitution of India is very bulky, containing as many as 12 parts, as 22 parts, 395 articles and 10 schedules. Since the US Constitution is very rigid, the provisions meant for amending the Constitution are also very rigid and more formal. The US Constitution has been amended only 27 times, whereas the Indian Constitution, which came into force in the year 1950, has so far been amended 94 times. Therefore, it is easy to amend the Indian Constitution. Second point, while the US has the presidential form of government, India has the parliamentary form of government, which I have told you earlier also. Here is you can see the slide here. One of the main differences between the presidential and parliamentary system is that in presidential system, the legislative and executive branches are separated from each other. That means the president is not responsible for the government and the government is not responsible for the president as in US. In the parliamentary system, the executive branch is led by the PM and his council of ministers. They are all members of the legislative branch. In the presidential system, there is no such thing as PM. The secretaries of the departments are answerable to the president only. So, in detail, we can say that in the US, the president is the head of the state, and so his government is popularly referred as the presidential form of government. India, on the other hand, has a parliamentary form of government, as the Prime Minister with his cabinet exercise real power, with the president being only a nominal head. The President of USA holds office for a period of 4 years, while the Indian Prime Minister holds power for 5 years as long as his political party enjoys a majority in the Lok Sabha. While the US follows the bi-party system, India has a multi-party system and a complicated process of elections. The major difference between these two systems is that in the presidential system, the president is directly voted upon by the people. He is also answerable to the voters rather than the legislature. Whereas in parliamentary system, the legislature holds the supreme power. The Prime Minister is chosen by the members of the legislature and in practice is the leader of the majority party in legislature. In the parliamentary system of government, the Prime Minister is fully free to choose his ministers among the members of the parliament. But in presidential form of government, the president enjoys much more freedom in selecting his ministers. He selects them from much wider field, taking into account their experience and expertise. In the next slide, again the difference is there that the presidential form of government, both the houses of legislature, that is the Senate and the House of Representatives in USA, are directly elected. In the parliamentary form of government, one of the house is directly elected and the second house is nominated, that is the House of Commons, which is directly elected, and the House of Lords is largely appointed as in UK. The biggest difference is in the terms of the powers of the president. In the parliamentary system, the president acts as a ceremonial figure and the head of the state who appoints the minister and the PM, but has no powers in the terms of foreign or domestic policy as in UK. In the presidential system, as in USA, the president is the key actor in the foreign and domestic policy and also a representative of constitutional authority. There is a short explanation before you. You can see the differences here. in the presidential and the parliamentary form of governments. Now, there is a most important difference related to judicial system, and it in detail we can study here. US being a developed country have an advanced judicial system. The judicial system of India is, however, rapidly developing. A judge in the USA hold office as long as he is capable of performing his duties. Indian Constitution, on the other hand, states that a district judge holds his post till the age of 58, a High Court judge holds till the age of 62, and a Supreme Court judge retires at the age of 65. So, in length we can describe the justice in India and USA in relation to judicial review. The scope of judicial review in India is narrower than that of what exists in USA. Though the American Constitution does not mention the concept of judicial review in any of its provision, but in USA the judges exercise judicial review in a very aggressive manner. If the judges think that a particular law and the philosophy of it is not liked by the judges, then also the judiciary may reject the law, but such a thing never happens in India. The Indian judges reject a law only on the basis of unconstitutionality. Moreover, it has also been seen that in USA, if a law is rejected by the Supreme Court, then the court will make a new laws in its place. Although law making is not the responsibility of the judiciary. The judiciary makes laws. Such judge-made laws are very common in USA, but in India, if the law is rejected by the Supreme Court, the court leaves the matter of making new laws to the legislative. This is, we can say, this has also been described as a judicial activism by some of the constitutional experts. So, coming to the last point of difference, that is a difference in citizenship. The Constitution of India recognizes single citizenship. On the other hand, the USA Constitution provides for a double citizenship, that is, a US citizen can have citizenship of two countries, USA and other country. In conclusion, we can say that there are certain features of federalism which are common to both India and the USA. On the other hand, India and USA differ in many aspects related to the federal character of their constitution. However, both the US and the Indian federalism, despite having limitations, are by and large successful. So, this is the end of the topic. Thank you. The end.